Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And first things first, we want to thank Simon Fraser University for hosting this information session. And we also want to thank Ishani for organizing this event. My name is Emerson. I work for the non-immigrant visa section here at the U.S. Consulate in Vancouver. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Alessandra and Archana. They are team leaders for the non-immigrant visa section. And we're also joined by Evan, one of the American consular officers. Yeah. Our presentation is entitled Demystifying the U.S. Visa Process. So we understand that for some visa applicants who's applying for the first time, it could be a daunting task. So hopefully this presentation will address some of their questions and dispel some of the most common misconceptions. So we're going to be discussing the following topics. So first, do I need a visa? What kind of visa do I need? And how do you apply for a visa? What is the interview waiver program? What are the application outcomes? And we're also going to give you resources in finding basic information. And then last will be the question and answer portion after a short break. All right. So the visa process basically flows through these three branches of the U.S. government. So first is the USCIS, or U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. They determine eligibility and approves petitions needed for certain visa classes. And officers there are staffed by USCIS officers. The next one will be the U.S. Department of State, which our workplace falls under. This branch of the government grants or refuses the visas, and the officers are called consular officers. And then finally, it's the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, staffed by CBP officers. So basically, CBP is located in all U.S. ports of entry, including YVR and land borders. And then they make the final determination regarding admissibility every time you apply for entry into the U.S. And they also limit duration of your stay in the U.S., which will be found on a document called the I-94 or I-94 dated stamp on your passport. Next. Do you need a visa? So we just want to emphasize on this because we see this happen often. Canadian citizens do not require visas for most non-immigrant visa classes and can apply at the port of entry. So basically, if you're a Canadian citizen, you should just present yourself along with your passport and supporting documentation directly at CBP port of entry. However, Canadian citizens do need to appear at a U.S. consulate for an interview if they are applying for a fiancé visa, a diplomatic visa, treaty traders, and treaty investors. There you go. Who needs a visa? So if you are a permanent resident, international student, work permit holder, a visitor, and a refugee status holder in Canada, you will need to apply for a US visa. What is the visa waiver program? So under this program, citizens or nationals of some countries may travel to the US for tourism or business for up to 90 days without obtaining a B1, B2 visa. So just take note, yeah, Canada is not a visa waiver country. So we do not need to apply for, so Canadian nationals do not need to apply for this thing called ESTA. So it's the electronic system for travel authorization, which you apply through the CBP website. What kind of visa do I need? So, so this is the most common type of visa application that we receive here at the consulate. It's the B1, B2 visa. It's also commonly known as the tourist visa. So yeah, permitted under this visa category is tourism activities, medical treatment. If you want to go shopping, visit family and friends, business meetings, and conferences. What's not permitted on this visa are the following: paid performances, full-time students, journalism, crew members, and other paid employment. So as required by US law, applicants must overcome the presumption of immigrant intent by sufficiently demonstrating that you have strong ties outside of the US that will compel you to leave the United States at the end of your temporary stay. So this terminology will come up in the next few slides. So yeah, just to have an idea what that means. So what kind of visa do I need? So if you're applying for, if you want to study in the United States, you will need an F1 visa. So this is the visa that will be used for studying at any US university, college, or language program. Required documents are the I-20 form and proof of service payment. So yeah, dependent visas are also available for a spouse or children for almost all visa types. So basically, a school will issue an I-20 to the student, and student must register in the SEVIS database and present proof of SEVIS fee payment at the time of the interview. So SEVIS means Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. This is the system where Department of Homeland Security tracks all students and exchange visitors under the program. So in this visa category, an applicant must overcome Section 214B. Next. So I think there's a lot of interest in this segment here. So if you want to apply for an internship, a summer work program, au pair, or exchange visitor program in the United States, you will need a J1 visa. So the required documents are the following: the DS 2019, and again, proof of service payment. So under this category, the sponsor, institution, or third party will issue the DS 2019 to the prospective applicant. And again, participant must be registered in the SEVIS database, and they must present proof of payment at the time of their interview. And again, they must overcome 214B for this type of visa. So we just want to emphasize this for these two visa categories. Canadian citizens do not need visas to be able to study or participate in an exchange program in the US. So Canadians just need to obtain an I-20 or DS 2019 and a certificate of eligibility from the university, school, or exchange program they plan to attend. Upon receipt of the I-20 or the DS 2019, the student will be registered with SEVIS, the student tracking system, and they will be also assigned a SEVIS number. And they will be required to pay a registration fee. So when crossing the border to begin their study or exchange program in the United States, the student will need to provide the officer these things at the port of entry. So again, Canadians don't need a visa for these two types of categories, visa categories. So H-1B or dash L1 or L1 rather. So these are long-term work permits. If you want to work for a US company in the United States. So these are approved by the USCIS. Basically, when a company wants to hire a foreign national, they will have to file a petition for the applicant, and this is the department that will approve that request. So these types of visas are temporary employment for up to 6 years in a specialty occupation. Basically, it's a practical application of highly specialized knowledge. It requires completion of at least a bachelor's degree in the specialty or equivalent experience. And then applicant must meet degree or experience requirement by time of filing. So usually this happens during the first 5 business days of April each year. And in this visa category, 214B does not apply. So basically, the prospective employer's responsibility is to initiate and complete the petition process. And then once a petition is approved by the USCIS, it will be the applicant's responsibility to apply for the visa. And then next is the TN visa, United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement, USMCA. So also known as the NAFTA visas. So these are visas for Canadian and Mexican citizens who wants to engage in temporary work activities in the States. Going back. So for these type of visas, the individual must be for work in a designated professional occupation. So there's a list of occupations that that falls under this category, which can be found in travel.state.gov. Some specific degrees and licensing requirements will be needed. An applicant also needs a job offer letter and proof of qualifications. And Canadian citizens should apply directly at the port of entry without obtaining a visa. However, Mexican citizens need to apply for a TN visa. Once admitted, you will be given a maximum of 3 years validity to be able to work in the US. And under this category, you must overcome 214B.
Oh, just 1 second, okay?
Just 1 second, Shadi.
No worries at all. Take your time. Yeah.
apply for a visa? Oh, hang on, let's see. So first, you need to determine purpose of your trip. So an applicant must have an idea of their travel plans before initiating a visa application. So that includes tentative travel dates, locations, or travel activities. Next, you must prepare and obtain your documents. So what we need to see at the visa interview is the following. So we need a DS-160 confirmation page with a photograph. We will also need a passport that is valid 6 months after your planned travel date, and other supporting documentation. So you must schedule an appointment first, or send the documents to our U.S. consulate through this website. This is the appointment provider for Canada. So if you want to initiate a visa application, this is the website to go to be able to begin. And then the scheduling process will allow you to pick a date. Right now, we have a long waiting period for a visa appointment. But yeah, if there's a program that will allow you to mail your visa application, which we will discuss in next few slides. So basically, the appointment website will tell you if you need an interview or not. So just take note, visa fees are non-refundable regardless of the outcome of the visa application. All right, so how do I apply for a visa? So there's a form that applicants must fill out. So it's called the DS-160. It must be completed online. And then applicants must follow online instructions, and they must bring this barcoded confirmation page to their interview. So for applicants, take care to answer all questions correctly. Any mistakes in filling out the application can cause delays in the processing of the visa. So we just want to discuss this. We also see this all the time. So there's a process that is called flag polling. So I'm not sure, maybe some of the audience are familiar with this process. So basically, it's the process of exiting Canada, being refused entry to the US, and then re-entering Canada to valid your new immigration status in Canada. So yeah, that's what they call flag polling. So if you happen to have done this in the past, on your DS application, DS-160, you must answer yes to the following question, which is, have you ever been refused admission into the States? So just keep that in mind if you happen to have done flag polling in the past. So for photos, visa photos. So visa photos, we do, don't wear eyeglasses. It needs to be a white background. And then the photo must be taken within the last 6 months. No Photoshop and filters allowed. And you must have a neutral expression. No smiling. Also, the size is 2x2 photograph. 2x2 inches. Thanks. So on your interview day, please do not bring the following items. So there's basically large backpacks, bags, no firearms, of course, no weapons, no electronic devices, no food. Basically, it's like an airport. So if you happen to be here at the U.S. consulate, please expect to have a security check, and then you will be checked in by our greeter staff. Basically, they will check all your documents beforehand, make sure everything is complete, and then you will go through the intake process, which is basically checking accuracy of what you filled in your DS-160 application. The next is fingerprinting or biometrics. And then the visa interview. So we see a long line usually outside, especially during peak times like the summer. But during winter, there might be a long line outside as well. So dress appropriately. And then if applicants want to bring an interpreter, that interpreter must bring a government issued photo ID to gain entry into the consulate. So the interview waiver program. What is the interview waiver program? So this is the program that waives the requirement to personally appear at a consulate for a visa interview if the applicant meets the requirements. How do you know if you qualify for the interview waiver program? So these are renewals within 4 years of a visa expiry in the same visa class and category. So to qualify for the interview waiver, you must have held a previous visa and is applying for the same visa classification. And your visa expired less than 48 months ago and is in the applicant's possession. An applicant must reside in Canada, and they must hold a Canadian permanent resident status or valid study or work permit. If an interview is required, the applicant will be notified. So there are also applicants who will qualify for this program based on age. So anyone younger than 14 or older than 79. So first-time applicants or applicants who are hoping to renew their visas under the age of 14 or the age of 79 qualifies for the interview waiver. They must present proof of status in Canada. For children under age of 14, at least one parent must have a valid visa or hold a Canadian passport. If an interview is required, the applicant will be notified. Apologies.
I'll call you back.
F, M, or J visa applicants who were previously issued a visa will also qualify under this program. That visa must have expired within the last 4 years. So other petition-based visa applicants who were also previously issued a visa, again, may qualify. They must have a visa that expired within the last 4 years as well. And then citizens of visa waiver program countries who have never been denied ESTA and admission to the US. Application outcomes. So these are the following possible interview outcomes. First is the visa approval. So basically, when you're approved a U.S. visa, a tourist visa rather, that means you were able to overcome 214B. Then the next will be refusal under Section 214B, which means the applicant was not able to overcome the presumption of immigrant intent. And then the next type of refusal is pending additional documents or visa processing, also known as 221G. So more stuff about the Section 214B that we've been talking about. So when you get denied under Section 214B, the consular officer does not believe that the applicant will leave the U.S. or use the visa as intended, or an applicant does not qualify for the visa category for which they applied. So this refusal only applies to certain non-immigrant visa categories, including B1, B2, and F1, also J1. Just take note, this is not a permanent refusal or ineligibility for a tourist visa. Applicants may reapply in the future. So if your visa is approved, what happens next? So currently, most visas take about 3 to 5 business days to process. If you showed up for your interview here at the consulate. If you sent in your visa application through the interview waiver program, it may take up to 6 weeks. And then once your visa is approved, you have 2 options to have it mailed out to you. So you can either have it delivered to your home or pick the passport up at a pre-selected mailing facility. So some tips for your visa application. So just remember that each applicant's situation is unique. Do not compare your situation to any other visa applicant. Let's say your friends has got U.S. visas, and then you want to apply for a visa just for the sake of them having their visas. That is not. I would not consider that as a good travel plan. So if you want to apply for a visa, you must have a valid travel plan. Next is do not make irrevocable travel plans until you have your visa in hand. So don't book any flights, non-refundable flights, if you don't have your visa yet, because again, earlier we had the 221G refusal. Some cases might take longer to process, and yeah, we don't want applicants to be making concrete travel plans ahead of time. So an approval notice or interview appointment does not guarantee the issuance of a visa. Again, you must have your visa in hand before you can travel. So an approval notice or the appointment is not a guarantee that you will get one. If you plan to go to the US for an academic or professional purpose, it may be helpful to bring current resume, CV, and transcript to your visa interview. And then if you are a Chinese passport holder, once you have a visa, make sure to enroll to EVIS, the electronic visa update system, every couple of years. Beware of scams. So due to the long wait times, there are some individuals who take advantage of this waiting period. So do not, under any circumstances, share your login credentials with anyone else. And then hundreds of applicants have fallen victim to a variety of scams in recent months. Do not be a victim. Resources. So for basic information, you can visit this website, travel.state.gov. It will have general information about applying for visas. It will also have, it will give you information regarding visa appointment wait times for all the consulates, embassies. And then there's also a section there called the Visa Wizard to find out what visa type is appropriate for you. And then if you're interested in doing an exchange visitor program in the United States, visit j1visa.state.gov. It will show you a list of workplaces, schools that accepts J1 visa applicants. So for your, if you have visa inquiries, best resource will be our appointment provider, which is the website listed here. You can send them an email if you have any difficulty with the visa process. You can email them here, and you can also phone from Vancouver. And if you're based in the US, there's also a phone number that you can reach. Follow us on social media. So yeah, we have Instagram. We're also on X and Facebook if you want to see what's happening with us and if you're interested in what we're doing. All right, so that's our presentation. We'll just take a few minutes for a short break, and then we will answer your questions.